Yesterday was a long, rough night for the city. A lot of stuff going on, but we have capable professionals that are hard at work to make sure that our community stays safe every day. I got to take the first opportunity to say thank you to the fire department, the police department of our city, but also the people that came mutual aid to help us out, to make sure that, you know, as we were doing the work we need to do in this neighborhood, that other neighborhoods were watched over. People as far away as Danvers, Chief, how far away is? Danvers, Drayton. So we want to say thank you to those communities for the help. The tragedy that happened here is something that we have been dealing with a lot in the city. The hard part is that we have a lot of problem properties, and what happens with those problem properties is they become havens for the blight and garbage and people who have drug issues to house themselves. And when you have those issues in places that there's a lot of density, one flame could cause a problem. But we've been working really hard to manage those problem properties in a serious way. We have a real property task force that goes after everybody who owes us taxes. We go after every dollar. Hard at work. So we have a real property task force that ensures that every property that is not being used for its full potential gets used for its full potential. We have a receivership program that goes after problem properties before they get to the position that we have to take them and assign receivers to the process so that these properties can stay functional, they can stay safe. And in this situation, it was a property that we had been going after for 2 years. The city had been going after this for 2 years, legally, with inspectional services. Pat Ruiz, our inspectional services director, will tell you we've been here more than 20 times. We've cleaned the alley out multiple times. We've brought people out of here multiple times. I woke up this morning and I thought, is this a property that we had fallen down on? And the answer to that is no. This is a property that we were right on top of as fast as the process will let us do. And that's what happens after 2 years in the court system and making sure that we had all our I's dotted and T's crossed and finding the right owners. We were going to go to court today to get this property taken down. Today we were supposed to be in court, but we were in court today. But we weren't in court today because this happened. We were supposed to be in court since last week today. We knew that. And for us, by the way, we thought we had a good win because we had a court date. And the court judge we're going to ask the judge to take down the property. And we had that court date today. We had the good result. We'll have the attorney come and talk a little bit about what that means, what we got. But we're ever vigilant in any place that looks like this in Lawrence. And the good news is we know where most of these places are. We have over 150, close to 200 of these places that we know either were fire victims at one point or are abandoned or problem properties that we're going after. We have a system to do that. Today I met with those folks in that team and reiterated the need to be a sense of urgency and in their sense to keep every neighborhood safe. And this is just another way that motivates us to make sure that we stay ahead of it. 24 hours. If we would have done this 24 hour earlier, we wouldn't have had a fire last night. So we know that that's going to motivate us to make sure we can push everything forward. Charles, if you're going to come up and just talk a little bit about what the judge did, you and Peter, Charlie Bodies, our city attorney, and Peter Blanchett is our building commissioner. We'll just have to tell you a little bit about what happened. Then we'll take some questions. Peter Charlie.
This is a property that, as the mayor has already said, was already in a court process. There was a criminal action that had been filed at one point to bring the property into compliance with the building codes, the safety codes. As the mayor has already said, it was scheduled for a hearing today. The process had brought about a situation where we were on the precipice of getting demolition. The sign-offs had already been signed off by the city giving permits, and the only thing that had been a bit of a hindrance in terms of expediting the demolition was the fact that we needed to have the utilities disconnected. That's happening now. Some of them have already been disconnected. Others will be disconnected tonight, and by tomorrow, I'm assured, everything will be ready to conduct a demolition. The court today found that we had done everything that the city needed to do. We have been able to recover fines and penalties from the owner, which we requested. There's a $100 fine per day that started to accrue sometime around July 15th when he was served a notice from the city. In addition, the property will be secured immediately, and the demolition is scheduled to take place before 7 days pass. We're back in court within a week for status review, and if there's anything that's going to hinder a demolition of the property, we will be able to get in court sooner, and we'll adjust the timeline for the demolition based upon that. But our expectation is to maintain court supervision of the property through the demolition process and through it being made safe. We've also requested information on the insurer. My understanding is that there was a previous fire on the premises, and as a result of that fire, there had been a payment of insurance that's being held by a mortgagee. And it's our intention, not only through fines and penalties, but also perhaps through claims, to recover some of the emergency response costs that were imposed on the city as a result of the property owner's failure to maintain the security around the building and failure to keep it compliant, which ultimately resulted in our having to take action in the court system.
I just wanted to say that the city is committed to clean this area up very quickly. This is going to be it's not an easy demolition, as you can see. It's not just the problem house that we had here, but there are 2 other buildings that are going to be expected to be raised, and we want those to be done as quickly as possible. We'll be working with the owners and the insurance companies to expedite that process. The permitting process will be expedited as quickly as possible also. So in conjunction with the fire department, the inspection services department, and in the mayor's office, which we're committed to clean this up, to get the folks that we can back into their homes and make this neighborhood safer.
And on that front, the human face of this is 53
Up to 53 right now.
up to 53 people that have been displaced, 17 or so families, 13 families, I apologize, that are affected by this. You're talking about school-aged children, mothers, fathers, people that have to go to work. All those things are front of our mind to making sure that we can get people back to a normal life setting. We're always telling people, if you can, get renter insurance, because that helps this process along. But those people, a majority of which happen here, don't have the renter's insurance. The city has in place with the Red Cross a way that we can support the 53 people in this transition. We have Deb here from the Red Cross. She can talk a little bit about that. But I think tonight, overnight, we're going to do an overnight shelter where the families can stay overnight. And then from there, we're going to try to transition them out of there into more permanent housing. But if you want, so yeah, why don't we do that, Deb? Can you talk a little bit about what we're doing with them?
Sure. So we're in the process of opening up the shelter, which would be at the North Commons School in Lawrence. We will be continuing to do casework and following up on the casework that we started earlier this morning. We will be connecting with some of our partner agencies to see where they can do to help pick up where the Red Cross services end. Typically today we gave credit cards for food and clothes for everybody that's been affected by the fire. And again, we're following up with our partner agencies to see if we can find places that could help with first or last month's rent. We're also helping today with, we had a number of people that medication got lost in the fire. So we were able to get our disaster health people involved and get those medications renewed.
And so, you know, the Red Cross will only be able to do so much, so we're doing a call to the communities who want to help out. Again, 53 people are affected, like I said, kids and families. So we have an effort with the Red Lions Community Action Council as the kind of the social service connection to this. And if I can have Maritza Melendez come up and tell about if somebody wants to give a donation, where they can do that, and then we'll do questions.
Good afternoon. I've been with the families all day, and what amazes me about these families is the children are concerned about getting back to school. Unfortunately, their uniforms are burnt. The parents want to get back to work. Unfortunately, the keys are away in these homes. So these are families that are concerned about their school, their jobs, etc. We are collecting donations. People have asked, what do they need? At this point, everything. From your basics needs like underwear and toiletries to major needs like furniture and household goods, which they will get once they find new housing. A lot of these families have lived in this neighborhood for 7-8 years. So it's going to be a big adjustment for them, a big reality check, trying to find housing. We urge anybody who has available housing to let us know. Call Greater Lawrence Community Action Council, our community service program, and we will be working with them and trying to place them in new housing. We're also collecting donations, which for the moment will be stored at the Donovan School, labeled for all the fire victims of the Summer Street tragedy. So we hope that you can reach in, reach deep, and help these 13 families. They're gonna need our
And
help.
if they want to make a cash donation, to
Cash
ECCF?
donations to the Essex County Community Foundation. They are putting funds together to be able to assist these families with whatever needs they might have. So any cash donations, Essex County Community Foundation. Thank you.
So again, we know it was a proper property. We knew is that we were doing the best we can to get to it. I think the firefighters fought the best fire they could fight, and then at the end of the day, thank God we had no one really harmed in this manner. So I'll take questions.
Mayor,
Fire period is
I don't know
suspicious.
if I ask you or maybe the chief or state police. I know it's very early, but any indication of how this started? Were there squatters in there? Was it an accelerant? Anything that stands out?
I think it's still under investigation, and we're prepared to make a good comment.
Do you know if there were any squatters in there?
Well, we knew we had a problem with people living in there, and so everything's on the table.
Is there any connection to the fact that you were coming to court today with the landlord, you know, the property owner, and there was a fire 12 hours earlier?
Yeah, no, listen, maybe just because I'm a little bit naive, I think there was more chaos than conspiracy on that. Just happened to be.
Does it usually take this long to get a property demolished? It usually takes 2 years.
And I had a conversation with the governor today about this matter, and I got to tell you, the home ownership is such a bedrock in American society. So when government wants to take somebody's home away, they make it very difficult, and I totally appreciate that. I think something's got to be fixed. So when one property has such a negative effect on so many other properties, that bedrock kind of theory can get jumped over and said, hey, listen, the welfare of everyone is more important. We have, even if we take a property, we still got to give that person a year time to come back, and if they want to pay it up to us, they can do that. So you can be into it for so much money, and then you got to go back to court to get it. Listen, we're not crying. That's the way the process is. We're working the best we can to make that process faster for our community. But there are properties that were at it more than 2 years.
So I know that you guys are trying to expedite the process now, demolish the building and then clean up the area. Is there a specific timeline? Like, how fast would that be then?
Faster than the speed of government, so we're going to go fast as we can. We're going to get on top of them. People behind me have direct instruction to not let the bureaucracy get in their way. And if we have to pay to knock something down and then go after the owner after, we'll do that too.
And as far as cleaning up the community, what do you mean by that? Like this area? Because I know residents were like, we want that area clean. So you have some ideas?
Today, we had 25 of our DPW workers in the back cleaning up the alley. Best they could, because again, we have a structure that's falling. It's a falling threat, so we couldn't get directly behind. And so that's an ongoing process. And so we're going to have to come back. We've had a couple of these in the city, and when they go down and people rebuild, it just automatically changes the whole face of it. So we're hoping that in this instance that'll be the case.
These buildings aren't just ugly, for lack of a better word. I mean, they're dangerous to police, to firefighters, to kids, they're a public safety risk, right?
Well, listen, if you ever sit on a zoning board, people go and sit on your zoning boards, because people get to say yes to crazy layouts like this: a 3-decker behind a 3-decker behind a 3-decker in front of a 3-decker. With really no space for a firefighter to fight a fire in, and really no space for a kid to go and have fun in the front yard. So this is what we reap when we don't have good zoning practices. And we've done, the one thing that we've been really focused on is making sure when people come up with these crazy development ideas that we shut them down.
And empty buildings as well.
Well, the empty buildings, first of all, we've got to be better at ensuring we know how many there are and where they are. And I think that we've gotten pretty good at that. Pushing the bureaucracy to the point where they know that these things are urgent to us because they're right next to these kids' houses. That's the piece that's the hardest.
I didn't even think of zoning boards.
Yeah, no, the zoning board say yes.
Yeah.
So you said there was more than 100 properties in Lawrence that you've identified as problem properties?
Yeah.
So will what happened here kind of change the way that you're going to be dealing with those properties as well?
Like I said, we have been changing the way we do that from the beginning since we came into office. So that already started. What we did today in our conversation was say, how can we avoid the next one? And so we came up with a list of 3 or 4 that look just like this, and we're gonna go after them hard. And try to use, again, the attention this is getting to make sure that those don't, I think the way that the court reacted today is an example of getting public attention to it to get the machinery to work better faster.
So, Mayor, are you angry today, frustrated today, or thankful that no innocent lives were lost?
Yes, yes, and yes. And I only say that because, you know, a kid that I grew actually, 8 Elm Street was a place where I grew up that burnt down a year or so ago. I'm angry because these things keep happening, but I'm more frustrated that no matter how fast we build a system or how thoughtful and thorough we are, that we're still 24 hours short of getting a win, you know? So, yeah.
So was this a wake-up call to the city that we avoided a tragedy this morning? or
No,
what?
I think I came to the scene hoping that we knew enough about this property that it wasn't so. I think that everyone that lives in the city knows these places exist, and we're doing the best we can to get involved. We're gonna have to make some money decisions too. Do we put a demolition pot aside that's a couple $1 million? So when we need to drop something down, we can just do it. But we can't afford that every year. Do we invest in some of those things that in some personnel to make these things less? We do have on the table in the city council right now a proposal to do every 3 years, every apartment gets inspected. People are concerned that we're going to make them pay $150 for a screen door, but the reality is, if we had been in here, we probably would have shut this place down, a couple of these apartments down, because they don't meet code. But the way it stands now, you only got to go once to get your occupancy permit, and then until something bad happens, until you turn it over, we're not going back in. Any questions for other folks? Or? Thanks.
Charlie, how do you spell your last